Well, I appreciate your time. So, welcome to Warrior Wednesdays, where we talk to people who are facing obstacles and overcoming them. And today we have a very special guest, a man I've been privileged to know for a few years now. That's Dr. Bill Magee, who's a surgeon, but more importantly, he's the founder of Operation Smile. And Dr. Magee, first of all, thank you for joining us. But secondly, the reason I really wanted to have you on here is I know there's so many people out there who are facing obstacles, and they often seem insurmountable. But what I love is what you and your wife, Kathy, have done with Operation Smile. So please, if you could, just take us through briefly the genesis of Operation Smile and what its mission is.
Well, and to be quite honest with you, it was for self-centered reasons that I first went. I was a young plastic surgeon. I'm still a young plastic surgeon. And it was an opportunity to take care of a lot of kids with cleft lips and cleft palates in the Philippines. And I was invited by a group from Houston to go down to Naga City in the Philippines. And it was one of the most dramatic few days of my life, I have to tell you, in my wife's life. And actually, we brought the oldest of our 5 children, who was 13 at the time, that exposed, that young lady to stuff that nobody would ever expect. And Here we were with 300 families coming at us, and every kid with a big gaping hole in the lip or roof of their mouth, and they couldn't eat or speak an intelligible word. And we had to turn away over 250 kids and families, and every parent tugging at our sleeve. And it was horrible. I mean, it was just horrible, and I'll never, ever forget it. And I've often said reason leads to conclusions, but emotion leads to action. And as we went to leave, there was a lady who came up and gave us a ripe basket of bananas with her daughter at her side, maybe 8 years old, with a big hole in her lip. And she said, I don't have any money, but I do have these bananas, and I wanted to give you a gift. It's a gift for trying to take care of my daughter, even though we had turned her daughter away.
Oh, my God.
And it was just horrible, man. I mean, the tears were coming down her cheeks. The tears are coming down our cheeks. And I think it was at that moment that Operation Smile was born. It's like, we have a whole bunch of friends. We can ask them to come back. We've had a great time. We'll take care of the 250 kids. The world will be wonderful. Our guilt will be gone. And then we'll just go back to our lives as usual. That was it, man. That was the max. Yeah. And so we brought friends back and turned away another 300 kids. And then they got touched emotionally. And then their friends told their friends. And it just started growing from there. And so, today we're in about 60 countries, and we've operated on over 300,000 kids. And, we'll have 350,000 patient interactions this year with different specialties and everything else. And we have 30 centers around the world. But I think it's because people around the world are good. Good people are everywhere. And we need to celebrate that kind of goodness. And I think children bring us together. And so we have this magic thing,
You make a really good point. I too believe good people are everywhere. But what I love is sometimes people feel you have to be this heroic or this completely self-sacrificing person and have this noble sensibility. And what I love is your total honesty, Dr. Magee, in saying how this started and yet how the simple act of doing one thing can change your life and change the lives of so many. So for a lot of people out there, again, that's what's interesting to me is that your first trip wasn't this thing where you're going down there to change the world. It just happened and it realized. So at what point did you realize, okay, this isn't just one trip. This isn't just multiple trips. I now need to make this something that goes on and is bigger than me or just this group around me that has become this worldwide event, as you said, in 60 countries.
You'd probably have to give that credit to my wife. I think, I think that she has a nursing degree by background, a couple of masters in clinical social work and education and stuff. And I think collaboratively, and what we saw happen to our daughter too, to be honest with you, she came back and started a club in her high school. There's now over 1,000 high school clubs in the United States, and we bring 2 high school kids on every trip. And then it went down to kids that were 10 to 13 years old with a parent. And we saw the power that existed in that interaction and realized that it was an opportunity, if you would. And then, it was organic, I would say. And I think the most important thing to tell people is you got to be willing to step into the unknown a little bit and don't be afraid of risk. But having taken that, you learn so much. Mm-hmm. And if we can share that with our kids and grandkids globally, then I think we're going to create a better world. Our kids can create the movement, if you would, saying to their parents, Mom and Dad, I don't want the world you're giving me. I want a kinder, gentler world that we can help one another. Why don't we do that? And it just makes so much sense to me. And so I think it's that collaborative energy of everybody. Change never occurs because of one person. Never, never, never. No one person is responsible for it. Just like with Operation Smile, it's this collaboration of hundreds or thousands of caring human beings that have formed the organization that it is today.
So I love that idea of encouraging people to step into the unknown, that to take that risk because the rewards are so great. So for Operation Smile, I've experienced firsthand how you get people involved, but for people out there who are trying to get people motivated, what would your suggestions be to encourage young people or the youth or even anyone who's out there? How would you encourage them to say, take that chance, get out there, do something good, change the world? What would your words be to encourage
Well,
people?
I would say it's not just Operation Smile. Is where is your passion, so to speak? Where does your heart take you? And let your heart lead you into that. And I don't mean that in any goofy way or anything. I mean that all of us have sensitivities. And maybe there's a situation in your family or a death in your family or a cancer or this or that or an accident that drives you a certain way.
Sure.
For us, it was children. I came from, I was one of 12 kids, good Irish Catholic family. And, and my dad was a physician. And I love the power that a physician had in a caring way to put their hand on another person's shoulder and make that person's problem their problem. Mm-hmm. And I think in doing that, you show love, and in return, you receive love. And that's what all of us want, basically, whether we admit it or not. And so it was a natural evolution for Kath and I to be able to create something that everybody could feel that. And I think that it's so simple that I don't mean to oversimplify it, but I think what you have to do, whether it's with Operation Smile or wherever, is to not be afraid to start something. But Sure. It takes work. It does take commitment and energy. But if you can share your passion with other people and then they feel the passion in their hearts and souls, then they'll follow.
So you bring up a great point about it. And what's amazing to me is you talked about the organic growth of Operation Smile and really through sharing a passion. But for a lot of people out there who are starting a charity, there seems some insurmountable challenges. I know when you're starting out. For you, what have the biggest challenges been in taking Operation Smile and growing it and maintaining it?
I think it's really just a constant commitment to it, and the realization that every day you're going to be met with challenges. Mm-hmm. And what I know we've learned is we've learned more from the failures we've had, so to speak, or the tough times that we've had than we did from the successes that we had. Mm-hmm. Because when tough times hit you, you buckle up, you think through what is it that you did that led to that, and then how can I rectify that? Right. And you can't be afraid of that because everybody goes through that. Every human being goes through days that are successful and days that aren't. And so don't be afraid of them. That's where you learn your lessons in life, so to speak. And I think that if your cause is right and you're passionate about your cause, see, we're blessed with the before and after of a child. So right in front of your eyes in as little as 45 minutes, you're changing some kid's life forever by, giving them the ability to speak or to interact or to socialize or to succeed. And in doing so, that child's before and after becomes a metaphor that says involvement can create change. And in this day and age, through that child, we're able to elevate the level of safe surgical care in the world. Mm-hmm. We're signing an MOU in a couple of weeks with Vietnam. We were the first Americans to go back into Vietnam.
MOU,
Memorandum of Understanding with the government of Vietnam. And it's to elevate their 1,300 hospitals to a level of safe surgical care, wow. Which means that whether it's general surgery or orthopedic surgery, no matter what it is, surgery is only 10% the surgeon. 90% of surgery is the infrastructure. It's the anesthesia, nursing, instrumentation, the equipment, the monitoring equipment, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so through the child, And because of the strong relationship we have with the ministries of health in these countries, because we've taken care of their children, and because we've incorporated their healthcare structure in it, we've been given the privilege to work side by side with them to elevate all surgical care. We did the same thing with Ortega down in President Ortega down in Nicaragua. We're doing the same thing in Madagascar. We're with donors, with multi-million-dollar donors. We're investing in elevation of the entire infrastructure of those countries where they don't have it like we have it.
Well,
and so there's an evolution that's very, very exciting.
Well, it's remarkable to say you went from, again, performing surgeries for cleft palates, which, like you said, in 45 minutes, not only do you have a before and after, you've changed a child's life, but
Right.
now you're doing it where you're changing the entire health standard for a country. To me, that's such a testament to the power, like you said, of passion out of involvement,
Right.
continuous involvement. But you do mention one of the things, the whole reason we talk about Warrior Wednesdays is so many people out there are struggling and feel alone when they struggle. And one of the most important things to me is for people to be candid. When you face dark times and go through them, and you mentioned that your charity has had failures, I would love to hear what for you, for Operation Smile, what was the single toughest time, and how did you actually get through it?
I think the toughest times is when there's a difference in the philosophy of where you should be tomorrow, or the next day, or the next year. And it's very, very difficult for a nonprofit because let's say you have a board of directors, and let's say the board of directors are established business people who have, significance and have done well. And then you have this crazy idea of like the World Journey of Hope that we did in 1999. And we went to 18 countries in 9 weeks and leased an L-1011 flying hospital and operated on 5,300 kids in those 9 weeks in 18 countries. And so the theory was, well, if we take that plane in and do that, and if we get donors to invest in it, which we did, Johnson & Johnson, Warner Lambert at the time, and McDonald's, and then there was a fellow who owned Duty Free that provided the rest of the funding for it, we felt that the presidents of countries would want to come on the plane, and that would brand us in the country, and the business leaders. And in fact, it did, but we couldn't prove it before we did it. It had never been done before. So I can understand why a board would say, you're out of your freaking mind, man. I'm not going to, I can't say yes to this because you're going to fail and I'm going to look like a jerk. So you have to believe in your intuitive skills, and then you have to work your butt off to make sure it works, because your reputation as well as theirs is on the line. And that causes tension in an organization. And so it's those moments that you have to have the courage to proceed. In our 25th anniversary, we did something similar. We went to 25 countries simultaneously with 1,900 volunteers, landing on November the 7th, 2007, in 40 sites in 25 countries. Now, that's a little crazy, but the whole concept of it, we wanted to build centers for year-round care. And that was the initiation of those centers. Today we have 30 centers that will have done about 80,000 consultations just last year alone in those centers. But what if we didn't take that risk? What if we didn't set out that goal? It wouldn't have happened. So there's a time in the evolution of any organization that you've got to have the chutzpah to just say, man, I'm going to do this, and then you got to convince people to do it. And there's going to be, there's going to be resistance, but that's what growth is about. It's being willing to take that risk. And, and it's also what drew people that were entrepreneurs and people that had significant assets to say, I like the attitude of these guys. I remember doing the same thing in my own company, And I'm sure you guys did it in Ninja Warrior. I'm sure you had to go through ups and downs.
Well, that's really interesting because you think of a charity one way, but you talk about it very entrepreneurially in terms of expansion and growth. Because I imagine if a charity's not growing, it's stagnating, and that's the wrong way to go to people.
And it can become same old, same old. And so you're here, and then all of a sudden you stop growing, you stop challenging yourself. Other organizations see your success, they get to where you are, you become insignificant,
Right.
and then you no longer have the magnetism that people want to invest in. I mean, it's a business. It's the business of humanitarian care, and it's based on concern and love and compassion, which it should be. And it's exciting. I mean, it's something that we shouldn't do as a hobby, so to speak. If we're
Sure.
serious about it, we should really invest in it.
Well, and that's, to me, that's one of always the greatest challenges is, as you mentioned, find your passion. But there are so many worthy charities. And like you said, there's some that touch us. One of the biggest challenges I would imagine is convincing people your charity is the worthy one to invest. So as you do that, obviously you have your passion, but what are the secrets that you think convince people to say Operation Smile is where we're going to put our money?
Logic doesn't sell people. Emotion sells people.
That's great.
If you can get a tear in their eye, you know you have an individual's attention.
Hmm.
Once you have their attention, you can put all the knowledge of the infrastructure that you have behind them to verify yourself as serious. But you first have to get their attention. And I think, here's my philosophy anyway, is that in order to bring our world together, it can't be an individual who does it or a leader who does it, because there's different objectives of national leaders. But I think children can bring our world together because nobody is prejudiced against a child. A child's not black, white, Asian, Latino, Muslim, Christian, Jew, Buddhist, Hindi. A child is a child, and everybody can resonate. And on any international trip we have, and we'll put out 150 trips this year, on any international trip we have, it's an aggregate of volunteers that come from an average of 7 different countries, 7 different cultures, 7 different religions, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
And so all these people are coming together, and I have never heard a discussion of race or religion or culture. Never. Why is that? It's because a child is a child. Nobody's prejudiced against a child.
Right.
And so why not allow children to bring us all together? Why not allow our world to come together for the good of these kids and eliminate all the controversy? So I think that's what Operation Smile does. And I think we're blessed as an organization to have the face of a child represent us. And we'll never lose and never leave fixing the face of these kids, because there's an overwhelming need that still exists out there where these kids don't have access to any care.
Wow.
And so, they're there for us to work side by side with these families and these kids for a higher goal, if you would, that transcends just that child.
I love it. So if you could, if you could go back to yourself back in 1982 when you were starting this, or what you would say to, what I'm looking for here is for someone who's looking to start a charity, what advice would you have given yourself that you wish you knew back in 1982 that you know now? That someone who maybe
there's a wonderful, wonderful person here down in Norfolk that is Eastern Virginia Medical School. I'll mention his name, Dr. Alfred Al-Bahamed. He was the president of the Ultrasound Society and the president both internationally and nationally. And I was just with him the other day with my wife, and because he has magic. Ultrasound is magic. I mean, you can see a child in utero, and and the safety of the mother and the delivery and everything. And so I said to him the same thing that I had. I said, Alfred, I'll bet you were a bad boy when you were a kid. I know I was. And we have to do an awful lot to get to heaven. So let's be honest with each other. If we're going to get to heaven, we were bad boys. We've got to do some damn good things right now. And so I think that the key is if we look at this stage of our lives and what the skill sets are that we have because of the years of education, et cetera, then why not use that at this stage of our lives to help people?
Right.
There's no reason not to. It's exciting, it's energizing, it's good in every respect. Now, we have to be willing to work hard, to take the risk, and to give credit to thousands of people who have made that possible, because that's what creates success. It's not myself or yourself or any one individual. It's all these other people that then share your values and ideas and say, I'm willing to give my time, my money, my energy to make a world better for my children, my grandchildren. It's so simple. It's not difficult to understand.
It's really interesting to take the passion that very often resides, with young people, these idealistic people, but to have the wisdom to go to the people who have the life experience and who also have this wealth of knowledge and are looking to make that difference. Now, as part of being our honoree, we donate $250 to the charity of your choice, which I'm sure will be Operation.
We would like that.
Well, we know the importance. $240 is all it
Yes,
takes.
right.
$240 is the cost of a surgery, a life-changing surgery that literally puts a smile on a child's face and changes their life, which to me is, that's one night out in Los Angeles. You can change a child's life. So I encourage everyone to visit Operation Smile and make a donation. But I'll give you the final word here, Dr. Magee. I just want to know,
go
what's
ahead.
the future of Operation Smile for you? What would you love to see?
Well, first of all, the future is in the volunteer base. When my wife was giving a talk one day with T. Barry Brazelton, who wrote the book on the stages of development of life, he said, it's great you're bringing high school kids with you. He said, which we do on every trip. He said, but what you've got to start doing is to bring middle school kids, because values get formed between 10 and 13 years old.
Wow.
And so that's when we started bringing younger kids. So what we've got to do is get these younger kids embodied in their passion to help other people. And you can do it when you start kids early. We've watched with our 5 kids and now our 14 grandkids. They're all intimately involved with Operation Smile. And their friends are. And we've watched that grow. We've watched kids that started with us young are now chairman of our board and significant business people. So the future is not in us. The future is in our kids and our grandkids. They're the ones that are going to create a better world out there. Our time will be up before we know it. You and I both know that the days pass way too fast now. So what we've got to do is we've got to incorporate those values into our kids and grandkids. Families that listen to this and say, well, I'd like to be involved with you, there are ways to get involved. So we'd love them to be. And everybody has something to offer.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Magee, I can't think, I got to say, your passion, I've met you in person. I've heard you speak every time, though. Your passion is so genuine and so infectious. I know you give credit to everybody, but I really, to me, you are the beating heart of Operation Smile. I know Kathy alongside you, you wouldn't be there without her, but it's amazing to me. That's what I wanted to talk to you, is so people can see how you can start something, this movement, and through your passion, touch so many and change so many lives, which is just what I think you and your wife have done. So congratulations, and thanks for being on here.
Well, thank you. And we're still at the beginning. It's still an uphill climb. And so we're here every day with now 300 employees worldwide who are just giving their hearts and souls to us.
Well, we're spreading the message as part of Warrior Wednesdays. And remember, to everybody, keep fighting. And in honor of Operation Smile, put a smile on your face.
And don't hesitate to do that. We need you.
That's it.